Okay, we are live. Phone lines are working, and we are recording.
Thank you. Good evening. Do you have a motion to open the meeting?
I make it. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Please rise to the pledge of allegiance.
In the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay. Turn the meeting over to Mr. Bond.
Yes, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the principal of the high school, Ms. Smith.
Wonderful. Well, when Mr. Fine first mentioned presenting to the board, the first thing that came to mind was Dr. Rubito and his stellar research students, particularly those who did summer research this past summer with Dr. Rubito. And there were 14 juniors and seniors who participated in the SUNY Albany Methods in Research Summer Program, where they had an opportunity to earn 2 additional credits over the summer. Perhaps more importantly, also work with their own PhD mentors and conduct their own original authentic research that would bolster their long-term research program that they're doing in the methods program. So without further ado, I would tell you what their programs are and their research is, but they are much better at speaking of it because it's very, very intense stuff that they're doing. So Dr. Rubito will introduce our research students. Sure, yeah.
Hello, good evening, and thank you for inviting us to speak. When I first heard that you guys wanted to hear about news about the school, I absolutely jumped at the opportunity to sell the accolades of these kids and to show how much they've accomplished and to share my thanks with you for you supporting us as we move forward with this research program. When I first came to East Hampton 6 years ago, we had a small handful of students. I think Lisa Benincasa handed the program over to me, and she was absolutely wonderful and helped me out with the first couple of years of it. And we've grown the program from about 5 students to we're looking at 45 students right now, which is it's absolutely wonderful. Renee McGuire is teaching the first year. The first year, it's a basic program. It's a 3-year program. The students come in their sophomore year is the first of the 3 years, and then they move on to junior and senior year in their year 2 and 3. It's offered through the university and the high school program, which is at the University of Albany. And through that, they earn 4 credits for each of the September to June semesters, and then they have the option for an additional 2 credits for each of the summer programs. And this was our first summer where we had a full course. Out of my 17 or 18 kids, 15 originally participated in the summer research. 1 we lost to a boarding school. So 14 completed and did phenomenal work over the summer. This is only possible with the grants that you guys have given, or the budget that you guys have given us, because we compete in the Long Island Science Congress, which is part of it's the Long Island local one, but we also compete in the International Science and Engineering Fair, which is LICEF is the Long Island version, and that is what used to be Intel. And this is high-end, high-powered, and we're competing mostly against Long Island schools that are closer, districts that are closer to university centers, and the kids do their authentic hands-on research hand in hand at PhD benches. We don't have that option. So you giving us the funds to have these students work at our labs, along with the PhD mentors that they've landed on their own in their first year with Mrs. McGuire, has been absolutely invaluable for the kids, and it's a wonderful opportunity. So the program's grown so much, you guys have allowed us to, the AP Bio freshmen that we've had have been a great fade, because the freshmen then turn into, because one of the 2 of us, Renee and myself, will have the students as freshmen, and then it easily parlays into the sophomore year, and we're able to grow the program. So having that in our arsenal is fantastic. And then the other thing is I have younger brothers and sisters, which is fantastic. We have a family thing. I saw there was a young Massey in Renee's class, which is fantastic. So it culminates basically in a publishable paper that the kids will make for each of the 4 semesters if they participate in all 4, and a symposium presentation. And many of you have been to our symposium, which we haven't. Unfortunately, the past 2 years it's been virtual, but those are available if anybody would like to see them. We thank you for coming to those, where these kids generally do a 15 to 20-minute presentation on their high-level presentation on their what they've done in the past semester, and that's been terrific. They've called, and you'll get the Cliff Notes version of, yeah, I'll be the longest one, and they're much more interesting than I am, obviously. 3 years as basically a 45-minute presentation. We've been working on it for the past few days to try to get it down to 5 minutes. So I'm sure you'll be very much impressed. And just on that, publish a little bit. One of our graduates just graduated last year. He's now in Vassar, was actually published with one of his in a journal of entomology, and was offered a grant to the EPA, and worked over the summer with the EPA. They found his paper. They saw he was a high school student. He was working with tick remediation by planting native plants around his home, and then dragging and seeing how many ticks. His dad's a PA, so they did it together. You know, it was all on the up and up. And the EPA found this article, and they had him do the same thing with native plantings to fend off mosquitoes. And this is what he did all summer, which is after he's done with us. You know, they basically never go away, which is wonderful. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll introduce first. I have 3 students here with me. The first will be Annika Petroselli, who will speak for herself. Annika.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Annika Petroselli. I'm in my 3rd year of the Methods of Research program with Dr. Vito, and my project is on using phage therapy to combat antibiotic resistance with mycobacteria and snake bites. So in my first year, you can't see the picture, that's okay. In my first year of research, when I was with Ms. McGuire in the initial phase of the, when I was in the initial phase of my research, I began with the topic of giant viruses. I listened to a very interesting podcast about them, and I became very interested in viruses in general. Giant viruses are this newly discovered life form that we didn't previously know about, because viruses are so much smaller than bacteria traditionally that when looking for viruses, they're generally filtered out. But these viruses are so large that they would have been lost in everything that got filtered out. So this is a very new discovery. That I read lots of journal articles about debates on their classification of life, possibly being a 4th domain of life. And then at that point, I read a paper and found my current PhD mentor, Dr. Barry Kreisberg, who works at the Hackensack-Meridian Lab in New Jersey. And I emailed back and forth with him a couple times, and I shared with him the research that I was doing. And together, along with Dr. Rubito, we consulted, and we generally decided that it was not a topic that I, as a high schooler, could do, because even the professionals in the scientific community didn't know much about it. So then I ended up moving towards the common skin pathogen, Staphylococcus aureus. And from there, I figured out phage therapy, keeping with that same common theme of viruses. I moved from these giant viruses to bacteriophages, which are viruses that can kill bacteria. So from here, I did my research on antibiotic resistance. Staphylococcus aureus is a particularly prevalent example of this, such as MRSA, I'm sure you've heard of, and VRSA. It has been naturally selected through all these years to gain multi-drug resistance, making once very, very treatable infections much more difficult to treat once again. So that is why this is kind of important in the medical community. So from here, I went to bacteriophage therapy. So it's an antibiotic alternative. It was first used in the 1920s, but since then, a lot of research has been done. And the reason that these are so interesting and effective is because each virus has a specific range of hosts that it can infect, meaning that if you would apply one of these viruses medicinally to someone trying to eliminate a very certain bacteria, you could choose one that would work for that purpose best. So it would eliminate the bacteria specifically without also killing the good bacteria that lives in your system, and then it would die out once it had finished its job. So my protocols that I've been using were adapted from the FIRE program at the University of Pittsburgh and the CPhages program that was meant to kind of bring phage hunting to both undergrads in college and to high school students. Our high school is not like a part of that program, unfortunately, but I was able to find the protocols online and adapt them to my circumstances. So my methodology, I've been using the host of Mycobacterium smegmatis MC²155. It's a host strain that is a universal host of all mycobacteriophages that have been discovered thus far. So my mentor, Barry Crisworth, was nice enough to ship me a stock of this, and along with using this stock and all of the materials that I was able to buy using the research grants and loans, I was able to prepare all of my initial solutions. I was able to culture the stock he sent me onto lots of agar plates. And from there, I was able to take that bacterial stock and freeze it into glycerol. There you can see my lovely homemade shoebox test tube rack, courtesy of my father. So we were able to freeze this new growth, and that could later be defrosted and used to make more agar plates on which then my samples were tested. Over last school year as a junior, I was able to get through one round of trials using both liquid and soil samples that I collected from the local area, any place that's particularly conducive to bacterial growth. And unfortunately, that school trial did not have any positive results. But then I did another trial over the summer, collecting mostly liquid samples, and my results over both of these trials were negative. I did not have any positive plaques on the bacterial lawns, meaning spots that the virus would have eliminated the bacteria, which is what I'm hoping for, of course. But then again, we do have to consider that I was performing this whole experiment from my home on my kitchen counter, which my mother did not enjoy. So I really didn't have any assistance because my mentor does live in another state as well. So there was that, along with, difficult to get resources with the pandemic and all of that. But I collected another round of samples for testing yesterday, actually, some from the compost from the local Amber Waves farm and some from local ponds. Like I got one from Brown Pond, Raggers Pond, and Crooked Pond at Sag Harbor. And so I will be using a new methodology as soon as possible that my mentor suggested, where I can test multiple samples on a single agar plate, which will make everything go much faster rather than having a separate plate for every single sample I test. And so my overlying goal for this whole experiment is that one day I could make this discovery of a new bacteriophage that could then be used in scientific papers or used to kind of gather a host range for it, and then eventually would be useful in future medical opportunities to prevent mass antibiotic resistance. Thank you.
Next is Melanie Valladares.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melanie Valladares. I'm a senior in my third year of advanced medical research, and today I will be presenting our risk of aggressive fungi as a tool for slowing down the effects of climate change. Why are risk of aggressive fungi? I started my investigation in sophomore year based where I was looking for some articles, for example, in climate change. That was one of the topics that I was very interested in, because this is one of the most prominent and controversial topics in today's society. Since this topic has so many layers, I decided to focus on one specific thing, which it was our risk on aggressive fungi. So basically, our risk on aggressive fungi, it's a fungi that you can find in your backyard, and Amazon, or your local store. With this fungi, it mixes symbiosis with 80% of the plant population on Earth, which examples such as tomatoes can have the symbiosis with the strong aggressive fungi, but not lettuce. So that was one of the reasons why I choose this specific fungi, because I don't like lettuce, but I like tomatoes. So that was one of the reasons, because we have something in common. Since this has a symbiosis with 80% of the plants, I decided to make some of the investigations on my last 3 years, where I focused on investigating such as how changing pH level of the soil will affect the fungi, or utilizing different types of commercial fungi, Magnetophyta species, which are plants that has flowers. My last investigation I did with salinity levels, where I use selected planes to understand how the salinity levels here in East Hampton will affect our plantations, which is one of it's a we have to be taken account because since the climate change is affecting it's making our sea level to rise. Probably in the future we will have an issue with the salinity levels in our soils. For my future projects, for this year project, I will be investigating the rise with salinity because I'm going to be using the soil here in the area of Long Island. Since, as I mentioned before, there's like an issue with the rise of sea level. We need to understand how can this specific fungi or this sort of fungi will help us to reduce the effects of salinity levels in our plants because this fungi can make plants more resistant to the change to the effects of the climate change that has, for example, like changing temperature, pH level, or salinity. And we can use this specific fungi in our backyards to prevent our plants from dying or any change in our plant. Thank you.
We have a master who's also.
Hello, my name is Evan Massey. I'm a senior at East Hampton High School. I'm currently as well in my third year of the Advanced Methods and Research course through University of Albany. And my project has largely been looking at the compressive strength of living building materials with varying aggregate sizes. Now you may be wondering, what are living materials and how did you become so infatuated with them? And the main reason for this is because growing up in East Hampton, I've always been very environmentally conscious. I've been a junior lifeguard, as you know, and I've also been part of many different beach cleanups, beach activist groups such as Surfrider and AWOW. And on top of this, my father is an architect, and I've always been surrounded throughout my life with architecture and engineering. It's something that completely fascinates me. And with these two interests that I hold, I wanted to find a way to synthesize these interests and create a research project, and this research class provided me the perfect opportunity to do so. So the purpose of my project was working on turning the construction process green. A sort of construction tool like concrete creates a lot of waste and will sit in landfills for large periods of time. And what a lot of efforts are doing currently in the field is moving towards creating building materials that are environmentally conscious and do not use materials that can't be used more than once. They try to use recyclable materials. And so my research was pushing forward in this by using living building materials, which is a concrete block that is made out of Cyanobacteria bacteria that precipitates calcium carbonate. So patching concrete is very wasteful and costly, and this self-healing concrete, which uses bacteria, fills in these cracks when the cracks are exposed to oxygen. In my freshman year, or not my freshman year, my first year of this work, which is during the sophomore year, I was introduced to the journal article Biomineralization and Successive Regeneration of Living Building Materials by Dr. Strubar and C.U. Boulder. Dr. Vito showed me this journal article, and it caught my attention more than the others. This journal article described the process of creating a living building material using Cyanobacteria bacteria. And temperature, pressure, and humidity were all tested in this lab journal. These tests also for how many effective generations can be made of this concrete using their recyclable properties. And through doing this, I decided to sort of latch on or piggyback onto this mentor's work. I reached out to him and sent him an email, and he'd agreed that he would have me come work with him, which I was thrilled for. So through working with Dr. Strubar, I was able to test the compressive strength of these living building materials in order to see how they could be used in the real world and whether or not they could sustain heavy loads for construction. And through doing this, we tested different aggregate sizes within the concrete, which means the size of the, I guess you could say, rocks or pebbles that you add in the concrete. And through doing that, we tested which size of the aggregate was the most effective when creating the strongest block. And this is what most of my work pertained to last year. So the real world applications come in when converting into an eco-friendly method of construction, as the construction industry is currently a huge problem in pollution, as so much of concrete and wasteful materials are sitting in our landfills like styrofoam because of the construction process. So it's very important that we move towards a more sustainable process. It is pertinent to find the aggregate size that exerts the highest compressive strength in order to use this concrete in the real world. And it is a step towards using living building materials as a substitute for concrete, which is currently not sustainable. This year in my summer research, I was able to test the weathering properties of these different living building materials and see their resistance to different elements like rain, wind, humidity, heat, etc., to see how these would stand up in the real world. And this year's research, Dr. Schubar unfortunately retired from the project, so my mentor is no longer there. So this gives me an opportunity to pivot towards a more architectural angle. And I'm still working with concrete. However, there's a lot of proprietary materials used in this process, so it was hard for me to do too much work without them being like, all right, you got to slow down because a lot of these materials aren't patented yet, so it was hard for them to sort of ship them to me. So currently I'm working alongside Professor Butko at UT Austin, and through this I'm looking at analyzing concrete's acoustic properties and using it as a siding. And this is through his ADA LAC project, or acoustically diffuse and absorbent lightweight aerated concrete. So the key takeaways from this is pretty much we've been gaining experience talking to mentors above a high school level, which is great and will be super useful when we continue our research outside of high school and into university. And this platform is great for advocating for ourselves, as well as working alongside university labs and providing the opportunity of also being a lab assistant alongside Dr. Vito, which he gives us. So all of us just want to say thank you again for giving us this opportunity to take this class. It means a lot to us. Thank you.
They also, Monica, Melanie, and Evan also would like you to know that the test is the next board meeting. So truly the scientific method in action every day with the leadership of Mrs. McGuire and Dr. Rubito and the enthusiasm of our students. So thank you for the support, and I will let these guys take questions if you have them. Wow.
Very impressive. Very impressive. I mean, does anybody on the board have a question?
Do any of you know what you'd like to study in the future?
So right now I definitely want to study architecture, but also with an ecological lens as well. So maybe minor in environmental science or something like that. Because I'm very interested in architecture, but I'd like to take more of an eco-friendly lens to the whole process.
I was planning on majoring in something sort of pre-med related. That seems like a lot of work. I don't know if like being super active in the medical field is for me, but I do definitely want to go into some sort of biological science for sure.
As Annika stated, I was also going into pre-med, but like doing my research, I was more like thinking, I don't want to do medicine. Actually, I want to do something about the environment. So I choose to do biomedical engineer, which is also something related to medicine, but I didn't want to get more into the medical field, but because I like to investigate and build things, so that's one of the reasons I chose biomedical engineer. And for the minor, I would like to study political science or finances, because I don't know, in the future, I would like to build my own business so I can be an entrepreneur.
That's great.
I just feel like we're in very good hands with you starting your careers off here. So it feels good to see you all. A lot of you I've known since you're really, really young. So it's really nice to see how, like, what impressive, young adults you've grown into. And I feel like our future is brighter.
And there's 14 more of you? Is that what it is? Wow. How do you find? Oh yeah, right. So how do you find it is working with a mentor that's at a university level? How often are you able to get in touch with those professors?
I actually got really lucky. A lot of kids search for a really long time for a mentor. Some of them don't even have like a reliable one until late during sophomore year or even junior year. But I was really lucky. The first mentor I contacted about my project was able to help me. And he's been really good about communicating. He responds to my emails the same day most of the time. I have had like some issues because he travels a lot, so it's easier for people who have mentors that live on the island or at least somewhere nearby that you can actually go and meet up with them, which I found a couple kids have done, like gone and like even during the school, they have left school and gone like upstate to like, I don't know, like Brookhaven, up the island or anything like that. But like, it is really nice to be able to meet with your mentors in person, but if you can't, there are ways to work around it. We do have Zoom meetings that we talk to them face to face, which is nice. But yeah, email is probably the main form of communication, but most of the mentors that we have are really good about responding and they seem really enthusiastic about working with these high school kids. So.
I think that's one of the greatest part of the program is them being able to advocate themselves, as Evan said, and to be able to speak as adults to adults and effectively do so. And many people say.
So Dr. Rubito, and this is where I never disappoint, frankly. I mean, really, it's a growing program, and you can see the love that people have for their or the passion for their projects, which is what you're looking. That's the goal, and that's achieved by you guys. Great job.
Yes, no, well done.
Yes, well done. Thank you.
All of you. Anybody else have any questions? Your prizes you can leave early. So that's your reward. But thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Rubito.
Well, you don't have to stay.
You don't have to stay here unless you want to. Listen,
Yeah. Renee's gonna stay though.
Renee, you gonna stay?
Yeah.
Come on. But you get to sit in the back. Thank you guys. That was great.
Yeah. I think we are going to hear some good news from Coach Voss about our athletic program.
Thank you very much. I wanted to introduce Jeremy Cole, who's here from Section 11, and is also the Institute High School Association liaison for the Sportsmanship Committee, East Hampton School District and Athletics Program. One of the really prestigious awards. I'll have very.
So before I present, if you don't mind, one of my former roles was actually a board member for 6 years, and I'm very familiar with the science research program, and you really need to be commended for the support you're giving to this program. These children are champions of education, and the time and effort that they put into this is beyond words. So really, congratulations to all of you, and especially to the kids and the families. That's a great accomplishment. To have 45 kids in that program is just outstanding. So keep it up.
Thank you.
All right. So I am here on behalf of Section 11 in the New York State Public High School Athletic Association. Each year we have a sportsmanship program at the state level. It's the Sportsmanship Promotion Program. And basically what that means is not necessarily how well you do in every game, but how you promote sportsmanship across your athletic program. So every school is able to put in for this award. And if you put in for it, you get a certificate, which you have received. But those that are chosen each year for the plaque award have really gone above and beyond to show integrity, sportsmanship, and all the right things that we should be teaching and learning in athletics. So East Hampton is well deserved. I am telling you personally, I've known Joe Voss for 20 years. He represents your community and your athletic program at the highest level in Section 11. I was previously in Comac as an athletic director and moved to Center Riches, where Joe was prior to here. And I still use things that Joe Voss did in Center Riches, the practices and the policies and the procedures that he used in Center Riches. I'm not going to change things that work well. So on a personal level, it's great for me to come here to represent Section 11 in New York State, but also to commend you again for your athletic program, your community, your athletes, your coaches. They do a wonderful job, and East Hampton athletics is really well respected in Section 11 in New York State. So congratulations.
Thank you. Fantastic. And, testament to hard work and the kids that, you know, our district, following the leadership.
We have a couple coaches here that came, a lot of coaches reached
Oh,
out.
good, thank you.
What
Yeah, I
it
saw a
really
couple.
is an extension of them all buying into what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's Kevin's here. Ethan's back there, you know, we have Kevin, who's a veteran here for 25 years, and Ethan, who's relatively new here, and they all represent us really well. Really.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The end of the schools? Who wants to start? Who wants to jump first?
We're talking music.
Yeah.
I'm going to be brief. I'll just share with everybody that tomorrow, Wednesday, the 22nd, and Thursday, the 23rd, are back to school nights. Tomorrow is pre-K through second grade. Thursday is third grade through fifth grade. The program starts at 5:30. It is in person, and we look forward to seeing everybody back to school night. And today is International Day of Peace. And there's a tradition at John Marshall to celebrate Peace Day with our Pinwheels for Peace. That celebration we're hoping will happen on Friday morning at 9 a.m. Weather's looking a little dicey, so if we are not able to celebrate on the field on Friday at 9, we will postpone and celebrate on Monday at 9 a.m.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Charlie? Doctor?
Hello.
Hello.
We have, actually as mentioned by Evan Massey, our surf riders at the middle school will be joining the local chapter, the Eastern Long Island chapter, to march on Saturday in the Centennial Parade. And that is, you know, to promote the protection of beaches and oceans and celebrate that here locally. That's under the direction of Johnny Ryan Jr. And then coming up on the 4th of October, all of our clubs and activities start after school. So we have a record number of clubs this year. There are 15 of them, which is fabulous because we want kids interacting socially after school, obviously safely, especially for those kids that don't have sports every day, particularly the sixth graders. And we also have a brand new club this year, thanks to Mr. Fine agreeing to support that, with a little bit of, just a tiny little bit of pressure,
Yes.
not too much. It's a board games club that was actually proposed by one of our students.
Okay.
Who suggested that it be a Dungeons and Dragons club, but then we morphed it into board games so that you can play Dungeons and Dragons and other games and hopefully involve more students. And then finally, like Karen, we also have our back to school night this week. It's Thursday, 6:30 to 8:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're like,
You have a minute.
So they were the star of the show, I can't lie, but we do have our culinary kitchen ribbon cutting this Friday, which I believe you all received an invitation to, so we're thrilled about that. We also have our marching band in the Centennial Parade, and our student association built an amazing float, and it's looking awesome, so they will be in the parade as well. Lastly, like the other schools, we have our back to school night on the 30th. And we will be welcoming parents back in. As I said last time, we can't gather in here totally. I will be putting out a video Thursday that will give them my key information, and then they will go right to first period for back to school night where they can meet our teachers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe?
I have two things. One thing I want to report back today, I did my presentation for the placement committee, and we were approved by 6-2 vote to move forward with geographical scheduling. For placement.
Great. That's a huge victory. Yeah, great.
So,
Good job, Joe.
Joe, can you talk just, some of us know what that is, but I think it's important for the public. Can you talk a little bit more about that, please?
Sure. We have many different ways to do elite placement in section 11. Some schools do power ranking, Some schools do geography, some schools do location for things like bowling alleys and things, but many of them do placement by enrollment. Okay, when you do enrollment, because of our enrollment size, even though we're so far in East End, we place schools based on enrollment that end up being in the northwest part of Suffolk County. Harborfield, Huntington, Amityville, those types of schools. It's a 2.5-hour trip for our kids these days to get there. And, you know, we have to leave school early every time. We're traveling quite a bit. And also now with the bus issue that we've had many, many difficulties. So over the years, what I tried to do is talk about the benefits of doing things when we can, sports that are not already doing something different, like power ranking and geography, to investigate and look at geography. Last year, I met with the executive board, which is made up of superintendents, and they saw value in it to bring it to the rest of the county. They directed me back to the placement committee to do it today, and the placement committee voted 6-2 to now bring it to conferences. What this means is, to answer Jackie's question, is I'm asking that whenever you have a 5 classification sport that does it by enrollment, take your classification so you're not losing the integrity of the classification. You're not playing a small school against a big school. The A's make a west, a middle, and an east. Okay, you're still A. You still got to play in A. So you just mix it in. And so you play in geography. Same thing with the double A's, because there's value there also. Riverhead spoke up today, and Riverhead said, why am I traveling so far when I have all those double A's next to me? Now with the bus issues, there's a lot of problems. So they jumped on board. Central Islip jumped on board. Sable jumped on board. So we have a lot of support behind us. We've been there before. Jackie knows. We've been there before, and it always got knocked out. But I think between COVID and the bus issues and what we're dealing with now, there's a real roll forward to try to bring geography as the leading criteria to do placement in 5 classification sports where they do enrollment. So that's the push. We hope to see it through. It is for next year. Okay, it is something that we want to see happen, and there's a lot of people behind it now. So after it goes to conferences, it's going to go back to our athletic council, which is made up of the superintendents again. Okay, and at that point, we're hoping to form a committee to really implement it. If we can get there, it'll be a big help, not only to East Hampton, but to other schools. I mean, Amityville, one of the things on the agenda is Sunday, because they can't leave their school till 5 o'clock. If we were in geography, they'd be going right next door to Heffel Hills, but instead they're coming to us. There's no way we can play. We have no legs, so we moved the game to a Sunday. That's a burden on the kids, burden on the parents, burden on the coaches, and on the district. So it's needed. We need to do this. So today, I want to report back to them.
That's great. Joe, question. So say everything moves forward and we get this this geography situation. Is it will it stay that way unless something goes along years later and it wants to change? It will always be that way?
Well, placement is always a 2-year placement.
Right.
You know, so it will be implemented for 2 years.
For 2 years, and then
and then we have to continue to push it, continue to believe in it, continue to benefit of it.
Yes.
Could it go back? Yes, it could go back. But there's enough of a voice in Section 11 now. There's enough of a need. You know, when Huntington calls me and says, Huntington says, hey, can we play this game on a neutral site? My answer is no. We travel so much. I would never give up a home site to go play at a neutral site because it's too far.
Right.
We have tools in our toolbox to fix it.
Right.
You know, and that's what we've been driving towards. And Adam, Tim was at the last one. I think Sandy was at the last one. The executive board. It's a big help.
Great.
No, good. Thank you, Joe. I know you've been working on that for a long time. It's a lot of work, and it's kind of fallen on deaf ears in some ways over the years, but it's getting traction. Take it while we can.
The other thing is October 16th homecoming. We've been working hard on it. I think it's going to be a great night. Bonfire 6:30, football game 7:30, but there are events all weekend.
Great. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, Matt, do we have anybody for public comment?
Nobody on the line, JP. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Consent agenda. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the superintendent's report and recommendations. We're just gonna go to number 11, just out of convenience for someone that's in the audience here tonight. When I skip to number 11, so number 11, recommended the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that in compliance with the provision of section 3012 of the education law 30.3 of the rules of the Board of Regents, and upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the East Hampton Union Free School District Board of Education grant Christine Reese tenure in the area of ENL effective October 9th, 2021. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion. Second.
Second? Any discussion?
Congratulations.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations. We just wanted to move it up so you can. Thank you for taking the time to come, and we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. And you're free. You can go now if you want to. It's okay. You have more important things to do. Thank you. All right. I can hear the importance now. Okay, so we're going to go back to number 1. Recommend the board approve the following amended resolution. Resolved that Madison Scala is, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, appointed to a secondary mathematics teaching position as a leave replacement, which became effective September 1st, 2021, and is extended through November 23rd, 2021, at the per diem rate of $284.40 per day, based on step 1. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second? Any discussion?
Extended leave.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 2, recommended, I'm just going to take my mask off because I can't see. So, recommended that the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that Jenna Arnister is, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, appointed to a teaching assistant position for the probationary period of 4 years to commence September 22nd, 2021, and expire on September 21st, 2025, at the annual salary of $35,080. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Number 3, recommended the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that Dennis Blackios is hereby granted a leave of absence from his current position as paraprofessional for probationary for a period to commence September 22nd, 2021, and expire on June 30th, 2022, and be it hereby further resolved that Dennis Blackios is, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, appointed to a teacher's assistant for a leave replacement term to commence September 22nd, 2021, and expire on June 30th, 2022, and to be paid at the annual salary of $35,080. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
What school? Which school is here?
Tim, where's he going?
Great.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 4, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that in compliance with the provisions of Rule 14 of the Suffolk County Civil Service Commission, and upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board hereby appoints Denise Johnson to a paraprofessional position as a leave replacement to commence September 22nd, 2021, and expire June 30th, 2022, and to be paid at the annual salary based on $26,344. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Number 5, recommended the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education of the East Hampton Union Free School District, pursuant to Rule 14 of the Suffolk County Civil Service Commission, and upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, does hereby appoint Jennifer Willingham to the position of office assistant for a probationary period of 26 weeks, effective October 4th, 2021, as to be paid at the annual salary base at $39,081. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
It's good for retirement.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Number 6, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education of the East Hampton Union Free School District, pursuant to Rule 14 of the Suffolk County Civil Service Commission, and upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, does hereby appoint Lindsay McClear to the position of paraprofessional for a probationary period of 26 weeks, commencing on September 22nd, 2021, is to be paid at the annual salary based on $26,344. I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Number 7, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education of the East Hampton Union Free School District, pursuant to Rule 14 of the Suffolk County Civil Service Commission, and upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, does hereby appoint Stacy Grish to the position of paraprofessional for a probationary period of 26 weeks, commencing on September 27th, 2021, is to be paid at the annual salary base at $26,344. Can I have a motion?
Make motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Special education.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 8, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that Robin Levitos is, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, appointed to a contractual permanent substitute teaching position, who holds a valid New York State certification in the elementary education and visual arts, to commence September 22nd, 2021, expire on June 30th, 2022, is to be paid at the annual salary base of $56,880. Have a motion?
Make motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
One of 3 permanent sub 1-year contracts that we're
Great.
approving.
Good.
Wonderful.
All in favor? Any opposed? Number 9, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that Jacqueline Bates is, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, appointed to a contractual permanent substitute teaching position, who holds a valid New York State certification in elementary education and in special education, grades 1 through 6, to commence September 22nd, 2021, and expire June 30th, 2022, is to be paid the annual salary based at $56,880. Can I have a motion?
Make motion.
Second?
Second.
And this is the same one, number 2 of 3.
Yep.
All in favor? Any opposed? Number 10, recommend that the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that Jamie Hansen is hereby granted a leave of absence from her current position as a teaching assistant for a period to commence September 22nd, 2021, to expire June 30th, 2022. And be it further resolved that Jamie Hansen is, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, appointed to a contractual permanent substitute teaching position, who holds a valid New York State certification in elementary education and as a teaching assistant, to commence September 22nd, 2021, and to expire June 30th, 2022, is to be paid at the annual salary base of $56,880. Have a motion?
Make motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? This is 3 of 3.
And just for all of them, I mean, I know this, but I just want to confirm it. So that means that those substitutes, and it's always important to have substitutes, and it's hard to get them, they're just available every single day. That's what a permanent substitute means.
Correct. So they'll be stationed, I think we're putting 2, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 at the elementary, 1 at the middle school?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the high school subs, we have more subs at the high school where people are willing to sub, so we felt it more prudent.
And this is something we asked for because subbing
That's
was
great.
such a difficult.
Yeah.
And
Is it-
they're also, they're certified teachers with
Right.
elementary backgrounds. So
Right.
they have that.
It's a better
ability
level
to
of replacement.
Fill
too.
in much more adequately and,
Mhm.
and know what's going on. In the high school, with the discipline changes, it's not. as
And we have
easy to
needs for
get.
subs every single day.
Yes.
Yeah, they're across.
And you can't get them.
Math, science, these folks are really, looking, they're going to be very helpful with their training. It's a great.
And they're 1-year contracts, and we appreciate the assistance with the EHTA really helped us out get this through, so we really appreciate it.
And thanks, Tim, because I know it's something we asked you to do and you did, so thank
Great
you.
opportunity to use people,
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity to see people in action teaching for few positions that we'll have in the district. So it's a win-win.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
11.
Skipping to 12, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of Education accept a letter of resignation for the purposes of retirement from Anthony Delfino from his position as Director of Facilities, effective close of business day on December 31st, 2021. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, John.
Discussion? Yes, thank you and congratulations. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we have a 13?
Yep.
Page
On the back.
for the year.
Oh, we do that.
There we go. All right. So number 13, recommend the board approve the following appointments for the 2021-22 school year. and it begins with high school library after-school supervision, and it goes down to John Marshall lunch monitor. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Number 14, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the Board of Education approve the district safety plan as it is with no revisions as required in New York State education law. Now be it further be resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the district safety plan as presented. I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second? Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, so this is a yearly thing that we need to do. You did it late in the year last year. It slipped a little later, and there were modifications due to the pandemic plan we had to attach to it. So we checked with council, and instead of doing multiple readings of this, we are allowed to, because we're not altering the plan, do this, and nothing's changed. This is the general plan that is posted on the school website. It is not the specific confidential plan that each of the schools submit.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 15, recommend the board approve the disposal of the following damaged and obsolete equipment: one leg press, one back extension, one torso rotation, one incline pull, golf bags, and so on. We'll go down to 40 track jackets. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any
So this is
discussion?
like the pack rat in me. Admittedly, the pack rat order, like 40 track jackets. What does that mean when they're damaged or obsolete, and are they salvageable, and can anybody use them?
One of the things, last year, I was asked to do inventory, have two equipment that we've been working through that. Built hers on board, these probably about 30 years ago. These track jackets, they're really.
Can you throw them out already?
And they're falling apart. They need them. I keep it back, always concerned to make sure it happens. So you're gonna start seeing things that we're actually build our inventory, inventory is water for us.
Yeah, we're taking inventory.
We're gonna be taking some stuff like this that is over 25 years old.
I mean, some would call that vintage.
Unless they melt it or need of something. The jackets, they would, these are really old.
All right, yeah.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 16, recommend the board approve the consulting agreement between the East Hampton Union Free School District and Long Island Site Incorporated for the purpose of providing professional development of motor vehicle 19A testing services as per the the Lion Site Incorporated testing training class price list for the 2021-22 school year in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in said consultant agreement. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
This is for bus drivers, right?
Yes, Joe Lapani recommended that we work with this woman and contract out. She used to work for BOCES. She'll provide all the testing and research for our drivers in-house. So it was better for us and more cost efficient to go this route. And Joe felt more comfortable with her working with our drivers.
Good.
That's great. I thought this was something like driver's ed.
No, I just remember
No.
I just remember the 19A being a topic of conversation many years ago, and it just stuck in my head.
Okay,
But
great.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 17, recommend the board approve the consultant agreement between the East Hampton Union Free School District and Maria Mondini for the purpose of providing mentor training and services for the district's newly appointed administrators at the hourly rate of $87.50 and not to exceed 10 hours per new administrator for the 2021-22 school year in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in said consultant agreement. I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, good to hear Maria's name again.
Yeah.
Where to begin? So I want to also thank the Peconic Teacher Center because we are paying only half the rate. The Peconic Teacher Center is paying the other half of the rate. The administrators who will have a chance to work with her already have expressed, gratitude, and I am obviously pleased that Maria is coming back to do this. This is definitely in her wheelhouse, and it's what better person for them to learn from.
Great. Thank you, Maria.
Yes.
Okay, so we are now through the superintendent's report.
Excuse me, can you just wrap up that resolution?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sorry, Carrie. On to, I guess, old business? You have anything in old business?
Enrollment.
Yeah, enrollment, yeah.
Yes. So enrollment updates as of today. East Hampton High School, 977, the middle school, 291, John Marshall, 559, total 1827. Last update was East Hampton High School, 974, East Hampton Middle School, 286, John Marshall, 558. Total for 1818, so nine kids up. We're still cleaning out the system with transfer kids, but I think this is about where we are. Registration has slowed tremendously.
Okay.
Good.
Well, where are we on, like our pre-K, stuff like that? What are the pre-K numbers now?
Ms. Cuna?
3 new pre-K students. We got actually 6 new registration packets today, 3 of whom are pre-K.
Wow.
So most of our pre-K classes are at 14.
Good.
That's three sections or 4?
4 sections.
Excellent.
Reopening?
Yeah.
Just quickly, parents will be receiving an email from me Friday. We'll be offering surveillance testing for unvaccinated students. Hopefully the plan, we want to confirm 100% with the Suffolk County Department of Health Services that we can operate under their license to do these rapid tests. Again, it would be for unvaccinated students, and their parents would have to provide consent and be done by one of our nurses. So that email should go out Friday to families. I don't have a guess of how many people are going to want their kids tested surveillance-wise. Again, we've been tasked with promoting the vaccinations, and that's what we've done. Just so you know, because we had our vaccination clinic last week, we had 47, we had 50 doses, with 47 of those doses being given to our community, our students, and a few people who are relatives of our students. We had some doses, but Stony Brook was very happy.
And everything went very smoothly, no glitches.
They smooth as can be. Thank you to Marcia Diaz, who sat in there and helped the whole day with translation.
Fantastic.
Our tech team setting up the phones and everything, but we got it done, and they are a well-oiled machine.
And there's going to be a second shot in 3 weeks?
Yep, they'll come back and do it.
And would we be able to potentially do a survey like, okay, you missed the first one, it went very smoothly, we'll be scheduling another one maybe after the second shots are given?
I'm going to touch base with the person who was in charge from Stony Brook, Southampton, to see if they're willing to do another round. I don't think they won't, they were great. That we were conservative on the number of doses, but kind of was our number getting out there. Hopefully we can get a little more. I mean, they could do upwards. I think they were talking about, they've done 1,300 shots a day. So I think they have a huge capacity, but it was all staffed by volunteers, which is amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you for setting it up. You did a great job.
Just under old business real quick. I don't know if it really belongs in old or new, but it's board meetings and where we're having them. Some board members have expressed interest in bringing it back to the boardroom for the smaller meetings like this one. But if obviously we have presentations, like today was a smaller presentation, but if we have something bigger, have it in this room. It's just much more comfortable in the boardroom. I, for one, would rather have it in the boardroom. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but just wanted to open up for a little bit of a discussion for us as board members, to what everybody thinks. What's everybody feel about it?
I agree with you. I like to be able to look at board members.
Yeah, this is hard. I mean, it's the best setup for here, but it's not optimal. The lighting's not as good, and we need a new, auditorium. So, keep on going. But
It's just all of this being in alliance,
yeah.
conducive to actually having like a discussion.
Yes, right. This is just like we're all sitting here, and there's, for the most part, not anything against you guys, but there's not a lot of people that attend our meetings. So if we do, we'll move it back. But I think if we can, at least on I think Adam was saying pretty much once a month, we'll have some sort of a presentation, depending on the size of it, we'll move back here.
Yep.
But if we can do a meeting in the other room, I think we should.
Yeah.
Everybody's good with that? No opposition?
No opposition.
No?
Good. All right. Well, then I'll turn it back to Adam. Go ahead.
So new business, I'll go over some quick things. Kerry wanted me to report, September 11th, the East Hampton Library budget vote passed 69-12.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kerry, for going and setting that up. I know she looks forward to that every year. Sports games, Joe brought it up briefly, but it's the truth. Due to transportation related issues and some other challenges, we are going to have some games here on Sundays. It's prudent to let the public know because this is not something we typically do, but understanding what's going on right now with transportation and sports. And I think it's really smart that we allow this and not let this stand in our way of our kids participating in something. So Joe's been working with some schools on that. I think we're talking about a handful of games, Joe, right?
The first one is this Sunday and it possibly another one.
Yeah.
And without doing it on Sunday, we'd have to cancel because we can't get buses to take the kids.
It's not even only our problem now. This is, for example, District Joe, the example is a district, and I don't want to, every district's having a problem, but Amityville can't get out here. They can't leave until 5:30. By the time they get out here, it'll be pitch black out for a soccer game. So you can't do it. So there's nothing. It's across the island with transportation.
I think all of New York State actually, we were just reading an article in the paper about it.
Yeah.
All of New York State has an issue right now.
Yeah.
Joe, what's the game or games that will be happening this Sunday?
This one's a boys soccer game versus Amityville.
Okay.
It's a good game.
We're looking at a girls soccer game in October.
Okay.
Those are two right now. Those are might be a field hockey one. We haven't scheduled, we're still working on that.
Okay, great.
Last thing is the affordable housing forum. Kerry sent out emails to a lot of people, surrounding districts, government officials. We're getting some responses back. We will have the forum. I think it would be prudent to have that meeting in the auditorium. But I think as a board, we need to discuss, you need to discuss the manner in which you want to, that conversation to go, because I think from my standpoint and seeing it with our staff and instructionally, I think we all know there's a problem. I don't think we need, my recommendation is we don't need to sit here and discuss a problem.
We all know
we
exists.
need to be solution oriented in the discussion, but that's just my opinion.
And the purpose for our meeting is for East Hampton School District staff housing. I mean, for all walks of our staff, from every angle, housing is an issue for all of our staff. And if it can make it beneficial for us as a district, that's what we're looking for. So we're gonna be looking for help from the state, help from the town. What's the answer? Is it putting houses somewhere on our property we already own? Is it us getting another piece of property maybe from the town and on a lease or a purchase? I don't know. We have to hash those things out, but we're looking for help from our state partners and our town partners locally. And I think it's only fair that we piggyback our feeder districts into it, because I think everybody has the same issue. We're all, I'm not concerned about, I'm concerned about it, but that's not our form. It's like, I'm concerned about where my kids are going to live. Unless they're going to work for the district, it's not going to really help them in this case, because that's what we're looking to solve is our problems. Because we can only deal with our own issues and not the entire town. I mean, we can try, but I think that's a treadmill that I don't want to get on.
The same issues.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
It's like JP, I think that we as a board have been very good sort of with long-term thinking on our succession planning things. This to me is the
Same
next
thing.
step of succession planning.
Absolutely.
Which is succession planning our teachers.
Yep.
Which is basically, we're not going to
Absolutely.
be able to do any succession planning for our teachers if
Right.
we have no place for them to live.
That's
And
right.
as we've talked about before, there's a bunch of us who are in real estate, and I can tell you right now, you can't buy a house anywhere under $1 million. And that's certainly not affordable for most people. And there are not many of those around either. So I think I agree with you, Adam, that I think it's really important that we enter this not as like a forum to have, everyone present their views on affordable housing. I think.
And rehash them as we
Right,
don't get
I'm not really, I don't think any of us are interested in that. We all read the newspaper. We know all of that already. I think what we're really interested in is a very strategic, directed conversation that answers the question, right? What creative things can the East Hampton School District do either on their own or in partnership with the village, the town, and other school districts to build, borrow, beg, steal, housing for staff.
For staff.
That we will not. We've just lost administrators. We lose teachers on a regular basis. We can't recruit teachers here. And, I think all of us believe that the schools are the backbone of this community, and we need to do something.
We're just looking at poor Luke. He's lost, half the department this year, tech department, due to this.
Yeah.
Half the department.
There you go. And the real estate floor is rising rapidly, and
Rapidly.
our basically our salaries can't match that. We can't do that.
And it's
So we
not
have to look
even,
for another solution.
it's not even the purchases, it's
The rent, everything,
The rent,
everything,
the rent rolls are
yep.
ridiculously high.
And why do you want to get into a situation where renting a ridiculously high rental property when you can't afford to buy a house at any point? What's the point? You might as well go start somewhere else because there's no way of getting off that hamster wheel.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think rentals in town are basically at a minimum of $7,000 a month, minimally, if you can find it.
Yep.
Would you agree on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, you might find an outlier somewhere, but there's not many.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many.
I'm trying to get people to come off their high horse and come down on price because there's too many things available and there isn't the demand.
Yeah,
I mean, the demand is there, but not at that price point.
Right, well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, what you always taught about the ratio, I can't do math that quickly, but 7 times 12, it's $84,000 or something like that, right?
But the thing is someone can turn around and get 75 for the summer, so why rent for the year round? So that's the argument,
It's exactly what.
Yep, so we need to help, we have to help our staff, and how can the villages and towns and our local and, our local politicians, how can they help us do what we want to do? That's the bottom line.
Yep, maybe have a solution.
Yeah.
Let's hope. But that's what we're looking for.
Great.
So, back to public comment again. Matt, do we have anybody for public comment?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's some dates on the back for committees. The October committee schedule, October 14th. Facilities at 9:15. Academics at 1. Policy is directly following academic. And October 27th is personnel committee, and athletics is at 2. So it's 1 for personnel, 2 for athletics. And can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.